again, and welcome to Ready to Heal. I'm your host, Betsy Sawyer Galen, and today we are going to talk with my guest, Diana Muenz Chen, about channeling. She is a coach and a healer. She's a channeling coach and a healer. So, Diana,
yes.
Thank you for coming, and tell me a little bit about yourself and how did you get involved in channeling coaching, and what is channeling coaching?
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Betsy. I really appreciate it. And so my story basically is I was a professional dancer, singer, actor, and I wanted to, go to a musical comedy class. I did. My classmate invited me to a seance led by Clifford Bias. He's like the granddaddy of a lot of mediums in New York City.
And when was this?
This was 1981. Oh. Showing my age here.
That's when I moved here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a while ago, right?
Yeah, quite a while.
Yeah, so, I've been around the block with channeling. But anyway, so, I went to his group, Clifford Bias's, and he was a physical medium, so he brought physical manifestation into the room. We would get like a moss agate or a tie pin or something like that from the actual spirit world, and I was so taken by the drama.
How would you do that?
It was a darkened room. The beings used what's called ectoplasm, which was like a certain energy from us and mainly from Clifford, and they would create it. And I was told after a while that beings would bring it from a different dimension into this dimension. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But I was just so taken by the drama of it. And then eventually I started getting into the spiritual side of it.
And now, did you always think it was real, or did you just kind of go because it was...
I always thought it was real, I have to say, because I know Clifford. I would go to readings with Clifford, and, I would have, he said, compile a list of 10 questions. I would do that. He would roll up the paper without even looking at it. He'd hold it in his hand, and he would go one by one and answer my questions from the spirit. The spirits were telling him the answers to my questions. He was just an incredible medium and psychic. So I believed it all, and it led me to open up more spiritually. I went to a healing school. I learned how to channel. And so here I am with my own practice. And, I've been channeling for years, since 1983. And I've been teaching channeling since 1988. So, it's been a long time that I've been around. And so during those years, I've accrued a lot of knowledge. And I've been able to help a lot of people. And right now I'm in the position where, because I've have so much experience, I can help people if they're blocked with channeling. I can help them to open to channel. I can help them to clear their channel, know when their ego's in the way, when it's not, help them to discern that, help to confirm what they're channeling when. So that's what channeling coach means.
And why does a person want to channel?
Well, everyone can channel. I don't think it's a gift.
You started by telling me about the Clifford.
We kind of went off on the right.
That's okay, because it interests me, because I think a lot of people have this idea of channeling of like somebody wearing like a turban, and you're saying he's bringing objects in, which that's like the first thing where people's skeptic buzzer goes off. Like, what is this? So, but you're not talking about bringing in objects, right? Because that's not really. So, or is that something that you do?
No, thanks for saying that. It really isn't. I do what's called semi-conscious channeling. I bring in beings, and I want to do a demonstration a little bit so people can see what that's like. But, it's just simply bringing in beings that have more guidance, more energy, more knowledge, that they can give us. So I don't create physical things. I don't do anything that's outrageous or,
And why was he creating physical things? For the drama of it, or just because they came? Or
back in 1981, people weren't as open. This was before Shirley MacLaine did Out on a Limb, and then that open channeling in Kevin Ryerson opened the whole thing up, for people like me, for people to be drawn to people like me. But, you know, at the beginning it was like, you know, guides talked in these weird voices, they had these weird personas to, I think, kind of prove that they were different from the actual channel, the human being that was channeling them. And then they brought objects in to kind of prove, oh, this is fantastic, this is from the other worlds, you know. But now I think people actually accept channeling much more. And so there's not a need to prove it as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely it does.
Okay.
So people aren't doing that kind of channeling now?
There may be people that do that, you know, but it's not as common. It's more common to see people just kind of slip into, you know, a deeper trance state and channel beings, and it's not so dramatic anymore.
So you met this Clifford person during your, I'm sorry, what was the last
Clifford Bias, yeah.
Clifford Bias, and I don't know that name, but obviously that's a big name in channeling. You
Yes.
met him through your work as an actress, or?
Yeah, well, you know, musical comedy. My classmate told me about it. I went, loved it.
And then when you went,
Yes.
you felt a calling to do it yourself, or
Yeah,
or
well,
just to learn more about spiritual things?
well, what happened, Clifford, he had to move because he had emphysema, so he had to move somewhere where he wasn't in New York City. And so one of his students, Alex Murray, he had classes on how to develop your channeling. And I was told by the spirits through Clifford that I had an ability, and I didn't know that. So I went to Alex and I started to open up the channel, and I loved it so much. And I started to practice every morning, which is what people have to do if they're going to become a good channel, is practice it. It's like any skill. But like I said before, anyone can open a channel. It's not this huge thing, you know. From my experience over the years teaching many, many people, everyone can open. And if they're, you know, I might have run into one or two people that have had difficulty, and we've done some healing, and then they've moved right into it, so. Yeah.
Now you heal. I know when I had talked to you before, you told me you had gone to the Barbara Brennan School of
Yes.
Healing, did that tie in with the channeling in any way, or?
Yes, it did, because when I was teaching channeling classes, one of my students was a student at the Barbara Brennan School of Healing. And I watched her grow and change and was amazed at how much she knew about the energy field, the aura, the energy field, the chakras, and how to really modulate her own energy field. And I said, I want to know those things. And so I started to go to that school too, and I went through it. And in my senior year, I was asked to be a teacher, actually, at the school. They were expanding a great deal, and they needed more teachers, and so they recruited me to do some teaching there. And so I stayed for a couple years, but I was so busy with my own channeling school. I had a channeling school up in Toronto I was visiting off and on throughout the year. I went to San Francisco to teach, you know, and then I had various workshops I did in the country, you know, and I was traveling a lot, and so I couldn't be at this healing school as much as they needed me.
Right.
So I had to make a decision. So I stayed with my own channeling school. Yeah.
So tell me, what are the benefits of channeling?
Yeah, so there's a lot of benefits, actually, Betsy. You know, there's getting guidance to your questions. You know, you have questions you really want answered. It's getting answers to those. It's getting unconditional love from the spirit realm. It's getting healings anytime you want for free. I mean, that's an amazing thing to think about, you know. I asked Michael the Archangel, you know, just recently, Michael, I need a healing. You know, I've been having trouble on a certain part of my body, and he gave me healing. And now I feel different in that part of my body. So it's getting those healings from them. It's getting, you know, connection to our soul, our higher self, you know, connection to dead relatives. Finding out, you know, well, how is my Aunt Mame after she died? You know, how's she doing? You know, she suffered here, but is she better there? You know, or if there's some unfinished business between me and my dead spouse, you know, how can we make that connection better? You know, it's healing things too, you know, finding out what's going on in terms of past lives and how to heal that. What's at the core of my fear of being abandoned? You know, where did it come from? So channeling can give me the answers to that. So those just a few of the great benefits from channeling.
So what could a person expect Obviously, anybody who's going to do channeling needs to be open-minded, or is that not correct? You can't access this information if you are a skeptic, or do you have to have like a certain attitude about things?
Yes, I think you have to. Well, it's just like anything. You want to learn French, you're going to learn French. You don't want to learn French, you'll take classes in French, but you're going to have blocks about it. You're not going to, it's not going to settle inside of you. It's the same sort of thing, You don't, and what I've learned too from my own experience and from what I've seen with students is, if people have done channeling in previous incarnations, they're easier to open up now in this lifetime. And that's what happened to me. I realized, oh, I've done this before. This is sort of like putting on a nice, comfortable slipper. I kind of know how to do this, and it feels good.
So what was the first thing you noticed when you started channeling? What was the first benefit you noticed?
I calmed down. I got less stressed, and I had more fun because the first guide I met was a light little energy, and back in those days she was called a joy guide. So she was here to bring joy to me. Her name was Holly. Her name is Holly. Holly's still around. She leads the speaking part of the workshops we teach at the Open Heart School. That's the channeling school that I have with Michael the Archangel. So she was a light little energy, and she, told me she loves daisies, so I'd buy her daisies, and she'd show me holly. There'd be holly on the ground sometimes, so there were these indications, or she'd say, oh, I'll show you a feather on the ground. Look for a feather today. And I hear other people say this too. Feathers are kind of a common signal from the spirit world, oh, they're present. So Holly and I had a great old time, at the beginning with channeling. And because she was a light energy, my energy field could accept her more easily. The bigger spirits like Michael the Archangel, when I first channeled him, it was tough for me because my energy system wasn't clear enough. I hadn't done enough work on myself to really be able to channel him. So he came in gradually. I channeled for groups of people, and Michael came in once and just said, I'm here, I'm just going to touch base with you. And he came in, and it was a huge ripple through my energy field. And he was just putting a tiny bit of his energy in my energy field.
How did you feel that? How did you experience that?
I experienced it through my clairsentience, which is the psychic ability where you feel energy that comes into you through your physical senses. Physical sensation. So with Michael, I could feel, actually what happened was I got nauseous when Michael came in the first time. And that's the reason why, is because Michael's energy came down through me, and he came into a little bit into my third chakra, and I had a lot of blocks there at that time. And again, this is in, the 1980s. And so, what happened was I could only hold him a little bit. His energy knocked up against a block. I got nauseous, that's clairsentience. I was feeling the energy that way. And a little bit of warmth I felt from Michael too. So that's again clairsentience, a warm feeling from the spirit realm, clairsentience.
And where did you feel it in your body?
That's where I felt it, the warm here.
Oh, in the same place, okay.
Yeah. Now I feel Michael very differently, and that's what happens when people grow and change. Their signal from the energy world, the energy imprint gets different. How I sense Michael is different now than it used to be because my energy field has gotten much clearer. I've done a lot of work on myself over the years, and it's gotten stronger.
So how do you feel it now?
How I feel it now is I'll call on Michael with my mind's voice, and Michael usually comes straight in front of me, and then I start to see the symbol. And the symbols have changed over the years depending on what's going on. I see this symbol with my subjective clairvoyance, which is my mind screen. I see it inside of me on my mind screen. And then I feel a rush of energy that comes down through here and up through me, and then I start to feel his wings on my back. Now see, I was brought up Catholic, so I believe you know, angels have wings. You know, our psychic abilities come through our most developed clairs, our most developed senses. So I feel all of that, and that is my confirmation I'm connected to Michael. And I talk to my students about this. It's so important. Names don't matter as much as the energy imprint. How does the being feel to you? How do they look to you? How does that repeat? Same signal all the time, then you know you're connected to a particular being, and that keeps you safer and more protected when you channel, which is very important.
That was another thing I wanted to bring up, because I think that's a universal fear of people who might think about going into channeling after they get over their whatever skepticism they have. I think there's a big fear block. So can you talk about that?
Yes.
How do people
and you know
get
what?
through that?
Betsy, you know, I'm starting a YouTube series, which I don't think I actually told you about.
No, you didn't tell me that.
I'm starting a YouTube series where I answer, just in short YouTube videos, I answer the most frequently asked questions over the years. What does everybody always ask me when I lead a group, you know? And the first question up is exactly this: how to avoid channeling negative beings? You know, how do you do that?
Right.
And one of the things is through the energy imprint. You know, when I teach students, and I'm going to be teaching that channeling workshop November 19th and 20th, and this is what we do. I have them bring their guide and stand in front of them. And then they sense whatever in psychic abilities they have most developed, they sense that being. And then I have the being totally leave their energy field. And then they sense what that's like. And each time this happens, I confirm, okay, the guide's in front of you now. What do you sense? And each time, you know, usually they'll sense a particular thing. Oh, you know, I saw purple on my mind screen, or I felt this warmth in my hands, and it keeps repeating, and that's how they identify their spirit guide, and that's how they keep safer. Another way that people can feel safe is through being very focused when they open a channel. So when I connect to Michael, I know I'm opening to what's like Grand Central Station out there, because there's all kinds of beings out there when you open a channel. So what I do is I go, I want to connect to Michael, and I hold that focus until I start to sense Michael and our connection. And that's another way. And in my book here, you know, Channeling the Heart and the Art, I go through extensively all about that. What does a negative being, how do they smell? How do they look? What do they sound like? What do they do? What can you expect to, you know, sense from them? And how to not be a part of them? You know, what do good beings, what are they like? How do they affect all of your psychic senses? And I break all of that down in incredible detail in my book.
Another question that's just coming to mind about that is, when you're afraid, does that tend to bring in the elements that you don't want? Do people have to have like a certain... See, it's really, it's a great thing to have a channeling coach, because I think if people try to channel by themselves, that tends to be a scarier scenario than if somebody is telling you how to do it and how to avoid. Because have you ever channeled somebody that you didn't want, or a spirit that you didn't want? And then what do you do?
And that's why I realized the energy imprint was so important, because this being came up to me and said, I'm Michael. And, you know, it didn't feel like Michael. It didn't sound like Michael. It didn't have Michael's energy imprint. And so I said, you know, no thank you. Bye. You know, so, and your point is well made, because when I teach students how to channel, when I first open them to channel, this energy imprint stuff is so vitally important for them, so when they go home, they know what they're doing. If someone opens to channel on their own, you can ask for protection, sure. But you know, there's also what you said, their fear. Their fear might create beings coming to them or not, it all depends. If they do create negative beings around them, and this is on my YouTube video, I'm going to be putting it up this week actually.
Oh, that's great.
The first, so that should be on in the next few days. So, because it's all edited and ready to go. So, you know, oh, I lost my train of thought. What was I just saying?
You were talking about just being safe when you're channeling, and making sure when the student understands that they've got the energy imprint that they recognize of the being, the kind of being that they want to get.
Yes.
And how to protect yourself when something comes in that's not what you want.
And there's something else, but maybe it'll come up again. I forgot what I was going to say. That's okay.
Okay. So would you like to give a demonstration? Can you show us?
Yes, definitely. Now, what I'm going to do is, first, I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to just breathe for a minute, okay? And I'm going to ask everybody just to be still and quiet. And then I'm going to talk about, I'm going to channel Michael the Archangel. How good is that? So Michael wants to come, and
now what's he known for? Can you?
Yes. Well, Michael is known for protection and for helping people to clear their energies, you know, blocks. And that's so much what's happening now in terms of talking about healing. That's what's happening a lot for everybody, including myself. You know, just gobs of stuff coming up to be released. And karmic stuff that was harder to release before is now becoming easier to release. And it's a really great time for all of us to get rid of the stuff, big house cleaning. So Michael's great with that. And, you know, as an aside, also I use him to help me to get places, parking spaces, you know, stuff like that. You know, but he has no qualms about helping in the mundane world just with simple things. You know, he makes that very clear. He's up for anything. So now, when I do this demonstration, Michael's going to start to come into my energy field, and I'm going to tell you what's happening when.
Okay.
All right? So you get a sense of what it's like to channel semi-consciously. And then at some point, my energy field's going to be so big, the aura gets bigger when we channel. Top chakras, 6 and 7 chakras get bigger. And then what happens is Michael's going to connect. I'm not going to be able to say anything anymore from me. And then at one point, Michael's going to start to speak. And he sounds a lot like me with a little bit more energy behind it.
Okay.
Now, for your viewers, Michael said this morning to me, we were talking about what we were going to do, because we usually do. We're a good team together. We're co-leaders for the Open Heart School, our channeling school. And what he said is he's going to give you at home, whoever's watching this in the moment, he's going to give you healing energy. If this is something you put up on YouTube or wherever it is, he's going to be there. So, and he goes everywhere. He can be anywhere at the same time. So now I take my glasses off. For any of you who do spiritual work, meditation or channeling, always take those off because they crunch your top chakras. I'm going to have some water. And now I'm going to close my eyes and take a few breaths.
And should I be doing anything different or just?
No, maybe keep your arms and legs uncrossed. Okay. And for those of you at home, keep your arms and legs uncrossed as well. And your attitude about receiving the healing from Michael is extremely important, because Michael can only bring you the healing energy. Then it's up to you to actually take it in. All right, everybody. So I'm going to take a couple breaths. I feel my heart chakra already. I know he's somewhere around already. We have a nice heart connection. And now I feel him right there. I asked him earlier to come in quickly so we wouldn't have to spend a lot of time on the preparation. So what I'm starting to see clairvoyantly is that image that I told you about a few minutes ago. I'm trying to relax my body because I was a little bit nervous talking just then. So I notice that in my body. I'm trying to relax the muscles in my body. So Michael's energy can come in a little bit more, and I'm starting to feel that whoosh that I was talking about. And I feel his wings on my back, and I'm starting to get bigger energetically, which is all part of his energy. I'm starting to feel my energy field get bigger. And now I reach that threshold where I'm nervous, I'm afraid. And that's very normal for me as a channel, because now I know I have to let go totally and completely to Michael and let him just speak and do whatever he wants. So I've reached that. I'm going to go into that now silently, and then Michael will be here. Greetings, everyone. I am Michael the Archangel. I'm very, very pleased to have this opportunity to be with you and everyone out there. So I understand that this is a show about healing, and I am very, very happy to be a part of this and to reach out to you in this media that we are using right now. Understand that energy doesn't have any blockages. It can go to you wherever you are. And so my love, my heart, my healing energy will come to you and help you in any level that you need right now. So I ask that you breathe deeply in preparation, that you open yourself more to me, and that you relax the muscles of your body, as you just saw Diana do. Now I'm going to start to bring energy to you. You do not have to sense it at any time, at any level, for it to actually be working on you. So let us do this now, and I ask my hostess to give me an indication of when I need to wrap this up. I do not want to do it abruptly, so give me at least a 20-30 second notice. May you do that for me?
Sure.
Excellent. All right, so let's begin our work together. I'm going to bring you healing energy now in the silence. Do your best to receive it. Here we go. Now pay attention to those areas specifically that cause you discomfort or where you're having some imbalances. Because I'm going to start to move into those areas. You may feel more pain there than usual, but understand that pain will dissipate as the energy clears. Here we go. Breathe, please.
We need to start wrapping up.
Understand that even though we're going to end here, my energy still stays with you. My love is still with you. Take a moment now to just sit quietly for yourself and again receive the energy. God bless you all. I am Michael the Archangel. So I feel Michael pulling out of my energy field. I feel him leaving. I'm starting to get smaller energetically.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you so much for being my guest today. And would you be willing to come back and talk to us some more about this?
I would love that.
Awesome. So Diana has a book, which she's got right here, Channeling
the Heart and the Art.
And this is Betsy Sawyer Galen thanking you again, and we'll see you next time on Ready to Heal.